Hello and welcome to Hot Money Technicals on Bloomberg Quint Live, India's first digital live streaming business news service. This is a show which gets you a complete wrap of all the buzzing stocks in trade. I am Agam Vakil. Let's get in our experts for today then. We have Mr. N.S. Vidai, who is a technical analyst, along with Raja Venkatraman of Chart Advice and Amit Shah of Indiabulls Ventures joining us on the show. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. But before we begin the show with our analysts, let's bring in Yash Upadhyay, who has a chart on PFC. Yash, what does the chart indicate?
So there's a negative call coming in on PFC, Agam. So we're using the long-term monthly chart of PFC over the last 15-year period, and this has been one of the worst months for PFC. On a month-to-date basis, the stock is down to more than 18%, which is the worst monthly performance by the stock since March of 2018. And the pink line over here, that is where the 200-day exponential moving average is for the counter. With the move that we saw from the levels of about 80 to as high as almost 140, the RSI 2 on the monthly time frame had topped out around the mark of 60. That is where it had come up to last time, and had and has given a negative divergence as well. The yellow dotted line over here, that is the mark of close to around 35. So there is a fair way on the lower side to watch out for when it comes to PFC, despite the kind of fall that we've seen in this month of almost 18%. This indicates, with the RSI giving a negative divergence, a bearish engulfing pattern on the monthly time frame, that we could see further weakness coming in for PFC from the current levels.
Okay, Yash, thanks so much for joining us and getting us that view on PFC. Well, there you have it. That's the chart. But let's start off by talking about some of the ideas that our experts have for today. And to begin with, we have a chart on Larsen & Toubro, and it's not just one, but we actually have two experts today who are suggesting, to look at L&T a little more closely. So let's bring in Mr. Vidai first, and to talk to us about the chart. What are your observations in this case, Mr. Vidai? What can you tell us?
Basically, I'm looking at major support that is coming from here, and that is providing a very good median support actually, if you see. And in extreme short term, there's another one support, and for you can say traders, this is the best support right now. If you see, it is taking support on this trend line continuously. Okay. And it has not fallen, and today also it is respecting this. So I think we are seeing weekly chart here, and basically we can also see that the stock on daily chart. Can we see daily chart, please?
We can have the daily chart up as well, and yeah, actually
so
that should
basically
be up.
What we are trying to see on daily chart is that if you see this rise, the rise was very strong to this area, and then the fall. If you see, the fall was it started very sharply, but right now it has slowed down. There is sluggishness in the fall. Rather, it is taking support on this trend line continuously for last 4 days.
Right.
So that gives me confidence that in extreme short term, this area should hold as support.
Okay.
So I would like to go with a stop loss of 1345 here for the target of 1475 for extreme short term. And if it crosses to 1475, then you can even see 1600 on the higher side.
Okay, all right.
For the the second level that we were seeing on weekly chart, now we can keep a stop loss somewhere at 1288 and take a long from there. And for long-term investors or investors who would like to hold it, I've given 3 possibilities. If this breaks, then maybe the second level, and you can keep a tight stop loss over there. And the last one, you can keep a stop loss at 1185.
All right.
And the target remains the same.
Okay. All right, Mr. Fair. Thanks so much for joining us and taking us through Larsen & Toubro. But let's get in Amit into the conversation as well, because he also has a view on Larsen & Toubro. So Amit, as far as your charts are concerned, what is it indicating? I think we should have them up in as soon as we can have it. Okay, I think we do have a problem with loading, but in the meantime, Amit, if you can just tell us about. All right, there you have.
There it is. Yeah, so basically the analysis here is very simple, but the selection of stock is, I think, the key, which is very important. So Larsen has been, one of the outperformers in the large cap space when the markets were, quite stable. Of course, now the scenario has changed, and hence, though I'm quite bullish on the stock, but overall the market doesn't paint a very good picture. Though bounce back is likely, but so I have a modest target for LNT here. See, it's a very simple analysis. Basically, it had made a fresh all-time high, and this is the first fall after the fresh all-time highs. So even if the stock were to go down further, it generally doesn't go down in a straight line, especially when it is coming out for the first time from lifetime highs. That basically is a strength. So bulls would like to basically test it again back on the upside.
Sure.
It is actually finding support near the gap area. Since past 3-4 days, what we are seeing here is, in spite of the correction going on into the markets, what we are seeing is a sideways trend for last 4-5 sessions, which indicates that selling is probably exhausting somewhere around these levels. Also, it is just staying around that 200, hovering around that 200 EMA mark. So it's a good place to it's a very favorable place to go long on this stock. I would keep a stop of 1330 and wait for target of 1470 on the upside.
All right, fair enough. Well, Amit, thanks for taking us through this one. Raja, very quickly, what's your view on Larsen & Toubro? How are you seeing things develop here?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with my two colleagues. The last week itself, the stock retraced into the gap area, and after almost a 10%, almost 20% decline from the highs, the stock does offer us a good opportunity to initiate some longs. There is also a trend line support which NS highlighted. Plus, at that gap area, formation of hammer patterns clearly suggests that there could be some revival here. I'm seeing an upside towards 1465. So for those who want to initiate long on a 1 week to 2 week basis, can initiate a shot with a stop loss below 1350.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Okay, so that's as far as Larsen & Toubro is concerned. With that, let's move on and talk about Biocon. And once again, it is Raja who has a view on this one. So Raja, we should be loading up your chart. What's Biocon telling you?
Yeah, the stock was ranging for quite a few number of weeks, and since the last 3 months, the stock has been making a lower high, which is a clear signal of a bearish trend in force. And after a brief consolidation, the stock witnesses a decline. So right now, what we are seeing is, post this consolidation of the last few weeks, the stock is once again witnessing a decline. And I have taken the help of the momentum indicator MACD. If you can just open this panel, you will see here that there has been a consistent selling pressure here, and the selling pressure continues to hold. So this momentum indicator along with the prices clearly suggest that there could be more selling pressure which could emerge in Biocon. So with the current, one could look to short at current levels, use a rally towards the levels of around 243, also as a shorting opportunity, place a stop loss about 253 and expect a downside towards the region of around 180 to 190.
Okay, fair enough. That's the view coming in. Raja, thanks for that. Because Biocon not looking that great, at least from Raja's point of view. But Mr. Fidai, what's your view here?
Well, somehow, I believe that there is a little bit downside, but not serious big downside right now. We see a support somewhere around 220, 218. So I believe there is a potential to go short on rise in the stock rather than to go short right now, because it's already gone down too much, and the downside is very limited at the moment. If one wants to initiate a short, one can go short around 240, 245 and keep a tight stop loss around 248.
Okay, all right. And what about you, Amit? What's your view here?
Sure. So, I've been negative on most pharma stocks. Basically, I see the entire sector, in a downtrend, basically. And this one, of course, I'll come to the short-term trading, but this stock has been a late entrant into the down cycle for the pharma sector.
Yeah.
It was in a sideways trend for 1 year, and now actually it has broken down from that sideways range. I don't see this pain getting over soon. So from a trading perspective, the near term 200 is the likely target, but I won't be surprised if the stock eventually goes much below 200 levels. Yes, it's always good to short sell such stocks on a rise for a favorable risk reward, and also possibly, once the rally has, the contra trend rally has already come,
right.
you get a better entry point into that. But trend is clearly down, and one should have a short bias towards Biocon.
Okay, all right. Short bias towards Biocon. We have a consensus here as far as Biocon is concerned. Sentiment not looking that great. And from that, we move on to Mr. Fidai's chart on IndusInd Bank. Let's take a look at how that chart's been panning out and what does that indicate. Mr. Fidai, what's your observation here?
Well, basically, if you see this, it's like, beautiful inverted cup and handle. Usually, we most of the time, look at cup and handles which are bullish pattern.
Yeah.
Now, this is something that has gone and, made a inverted cup and handle. If you see this was the top, and then you had a lower top, and then much more lower top, and finally the lowest top here.
Yeah, sure.
And the bottoms were almost on this yellow trend line.
Right.
Okay, now if you see, yesterday it had closed below this trend line, and today, though it is giving some sort of reversal, but I don't feel that there is an opportunity that one can see much more upside.
Okay.
Can we see the other chart, the candlestick chart? This is the line chart, so it gives you a better clarity on how to see the cup and handles or inverted cup and handles. Now, if you see this, there is also a moving average here. This weekly moving average, 200 weekly exponential moving average.
Correct, yes.
Now, the stock has never closed but below this earlier. But see this, it made an attempt here, reversed sharply, again made an attempt, reverse sharply. Now finally it has closed below.
Closed below the 200.
Yeah. So now we are expecting, if this week closes below this, and if the stock keeps on sustaining below this, then there could be more downside here.
Okay.
And what we see on the chart is basically I would have wanted to go short on the higher level, but though today it has given a good momentum.
Sure.
So we'll wait for the stock to break down below 1310.
Okay.
Right. So my earlier strategy was either go short on rise, but I think the stock has already crossed that trading stop loss.
Yeah.
So we'll wait for the stock to go below 1310.
All right.
Today also it has made a low of 1314.
Right.
So if it goes below 1310, then we have a possibility that the stock can fall all the way up to 1240 or even 1180.
Okay.
And that could happen in very short term.
All right.
Right.
All right. Fair enough. So IndusInd Bank not looking good, especially if you take a closer look at how the recent developments have panned out, and of course comparing it to its 200 EMA. But Raja, what's your view here? What's your take?
Yeah, around the 1360 zone, the stock is continuing to find some supports right now. So until it moves below that towards the end of the week, I would not be a seller here. So I would wait for a weekly closing below 1360. Then the potential target is somewhere in the region of around 1180. So with a limited, you could actually keep a stop loss above 1425 and look to short this, because it could become a good positional trade.
Right.
But right now it has come to a crucial support zone, and I would wait for the closing below that to take a short trade.
Okay, fair
So it
enough.
will be on my radar, but I won't be shorting it right now.
All right. And Amit, what's your view here?
Yeah, so see, around these levels of 1300, nearabouts, that zone, the stock has been continuously finding the support. No doubt the trend overall is down.
Yeah.
But if I just look in the very, very short term, today's candle is looking on a bullish side. Of course, we have not closed yet, but if we close above, 1385 kind of a zone today, for the short term, we can see a pullback towards 1450, 1460 kind of levels on the upside.
Okay.
But yes, overall, my sense is this stock is actually coming off from its big uptrend, and it's actually even probably looking to reverse on the long-term charts as well. So once we sustain below 1300 kind of levels, probably what we could see is a sustained downtrend which could last for probably even a year or so. So
Okay.
that kind of a scenario is building up. But just in the near term, if we close above 1385, then we can see levels of about 1450.
Okay, all right. So IndusInd Bank is precariously poised at this point in time, and from there here on, let's move on, and we'll actually go back to Amit and bring him up for Shriram Transport. So again, one of the other stocks in the NBFC space, which has been extremely volatile. But I'm sure Amit can give us more cues here
Sure.
as to what we can do.
Yeah. So if we go back, this was the long-term breakout range. So these two tops were the breakout range on a long-term charts. So this was a breakout for that stock.
Right.
Eventually, what we have seen here is a failure of that breakout.
Okay.
Now, whenever we see a breakout failure, generally it tends to move strongly on the opposite direction because a lot of positions are built on the long side. People are bullish on the stock, and when that hope trade goes on the wrong side, we generally see strong selling coming in, which is what we have seen in this phase. So this was the first phase of the selling on the downside.
Right.
After that, we have seen a sideways move. What we are seeing here is, around these levels, what we have seen is some demand coming back, but it's not that strong. It's just that the stock is holding at some particular level, but there's no strong buying coming in, which tells you the underlying weakness in the stock. And anyway, NBFCs and all, they are quite underperforming. So on the same lines, the stock has recently has breached this level, and my sense is once it has already shown the initial signs of breaking down. It has already broken down. Again, with the results, with some good results, it has retested those levels. But my sense is probably result is not going to save the stock and not going to change the overall trend which has been there for some time now. So I would look to short the stock. One moment. I would look to have a short view on the stock. I'll keep a stop of about 1025 on the upside, and first target on the downside that I'll look for is 910. But eventually, I do think that the stock is headed for 800 kind of levels on the downside.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks, Amit, for that. Mr. Fidai, do you concur?
Yeah, I agree with Amit actually, but right now the stock is holding off in this area. It is very similar to what we saw in IndusInd. It's almost like, instead of cup and handle, it is almost a vertical V, inverted V, and then it keeps on making those kind of smaller Vs. And basically it has given a breakdown, but somehow, I would prefer to go short around 104245, keep a tight stop loss around 1055. And otherwise, if it falls below 915, 910, then I expect this stock to see somewhere 780, 785.
All right. Okay.
So, yes, agree with Amit.
Okay. And Raja, do you also...
I'm in alignment with the bearish trend here, but I would look for a rally sell rather than selling it at the moment.
Sure.
So rally towards, say, 1050, 1060, taking a stop loss about 1080. Then you could expect a drop back again to this support zone around 950, 960.
Okay. All right, Raja, then why don't you tell us about Tata Steel then? And we can talk about Tata Steel, and that chart should also be up on your screen. And he also has a sell on this one.
Correct. So the metals have been under constant selling pressure. These are weekly charts. This I've used a tool called as Bollinger Band, and it's saying that there is an expansion in the volatility of Tata Steel. And you can see here there's a nice consolidation and then breakdown. And for this, I've also used in conjunction a momentum indicator ADX DMI, and the negative DMI is now clearly suggesting that the bearish pressure in this stock continues. And after witnessing a sharp decline since yesterday, you could use a rally towards the region of around 430 to 435 as a rally opportunity. Keep a stop loss above 445 for a drop towards the region of 400 or even 370. So you could use it as a positional trade because there is a long-term weakness building into this counter.
Okay, fair enough. Raja, thanks for that view on Tata Steel as well. Amit, what's your view here?
Yeah, so, metals, autos have been leaders in this fall, So, surely they have been weak for a while now. For Tata Steel, of course, the trend is very clear and it's on the downside. But, on the downside around that 390 area on the long-term charts, some support lies, I would actually look to short this stock somewhere around that 450 kind of a region on the upside. So my sense is probably that this stock could be between 450 on the upside and 390 on the downside. It could play this range overall. So one can position on the upside once it recovers around 450. One can play it short. Even around 390 kind of an area, one can take a contra bet on the upside as well.
Okay, fair enough. Mr. Fiday?
Yeah, I agree with Amit somehow. The stock is in a falling channel. And right now it is seeing a support at the bottom of the channel somewhere around 395, 398. So that's a good area to go long and keep a tight stop loss below 390. And on the upside, you can see a potential, it can go up to 450, where if you can initiate a short around 450, 455 and keep a tight stop loss above 465, you get both the sides trade.
Okay, all right, there you have it, guys. So more sell calls today in comparison to buy calls. Certainly, more bearish as far as our panel is concerned. But on that note, I would take a moment to thank all our experts for joining us. That is Mr. Fiday, Raja, as well as Amit for joining us and taking us through the various stocks that we've discussed today. It's a wrap on this edition of Hot Money, but don't go anywhere. Ask BQ is up next. Stay tuned to Bloomberg Quint.